ESPN Radio. Harry, do you know how good this ESPN app is? If you don't have the app, just trust me, it's free. It takes nothing. Download the app. Download the app. You can listen to KJM, to this show, on the app wherever you are. Check out KJM on the ESPN app. Or if you have smart speakers, say, play ESPN Radio, and boom, we're right there. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Okay, so Harry, we were talking earlier about Davante Adams singing. Well, we weren't even talking about. We were talking about Sammy Watkins singing Aaron Rodgers' praises. Davante Adams, now with Derek Carr, his bestie, was singing his praises too. Listen to what Davante Adams said about Aaron Rodgers.
He's the best quarterback, in my opinion, to play this game. I think a lot of what he did for me was not just about the type of balls or whatever that he threw, great back shoulder, whatever. Like, there was obviously that, but the way that he had the Michael Jordan effect, as far as like he gonna make you play better. He gonna bring out your best just by being on the field.
I got a problem with that, Harry, and I'll tell you why.
The Michael Jordan effect.
You can't invoke Michael Jordan's name. If Devon, because look, he said he'll make you better just by being on the field. But here's the thing about MJ, okay? This goes for a select few of the greatest of all time. Mariano Rivera, the Yankees closer, fits into this category. They set the highest standard of all time. Like, if you look at MJ's record in championships, if you look at, he never went to a Game 7, 6-0. If you look at his numbers, highest scoring average of all time. If you look at his advanced analytics, the best across the board. He's the greatest player ever. He sets the highest standard. So how did he do when it mattered most in the playoffs? He always elevated. His numbers got better. So he's better than the best ever, who's himself, right? That's Michael Jordan. That was Mariano Rivera. That was a select few guys. Tom Brady's regular season, like, the reason he's not Michael Jordan or Mariano Rivera is his regular seasons did not set the highest standard of all time. They were among the highest. But in the playoffs, he does get better. He elevates, especially over the second half of his career. And Aaron Rodgers is much more like Peyton Manning or Alex Rodriguez or someone like that. Eventually, Peyton Manning and A-Rod and those guys, they win championships because they're so great normally that they're not always going to fail in the playoffs. They give them enough reps that their greatness will come out. But clearly, their postseason play is not up to the standard of their regular season play. Not up to the standard. Harry, I once asked Don Mattingly, who was manager of the Dodgers at the time, played first base for the Yankees when I was a kid. He was the best player in baseball for a couple of years. At the end of his career, they finally made the playoffs as a wild card. First year of the wild card, 95. He had bad back. He was about to retire. Tore the cover off the ball in the 95 playoffs against the Mariners. So I asked him, how do you do that? Like, how do you – I understand staying the same guy. A lot of guys do that, stay the same guy under pressure. But how do you elevate under pressure? He said, well, actually, you do stay the same guy. But you keep in mind that not everyone's going to be able to. And you exploit the nerves they're feeling.
Now, Max, say it one more time now. So that's a gem that a lot of people probably need to hear.
So Don Mattingly turned out to be, in a very small sample size, one play at the end of his career, but he had a great playoff series. And I asked him, I know guys like, for example, let me tell you guys who I think have reputations out of proportion with what they actually did. I think Tom Brady in the first half of his career didn't elevate, he just stayed the same. I think Derek Jeter throughout his career in the playoffs just stayed the same. I think Kobe Bryant in the playoffs stayed the same guy, right? But they're so great that that's an amazing player. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a dude who gets better. He sets the highest standards and somehow exceeds that under pressure. Michael Jordan, Mariano Rivera. Don Mattingly got better when they needed him most. How'd you do that? Donnie Baseball. He said, no, you do. I stayed the same. I didn't get better than I normally was. I stayed the same guy. But I took advantage of the fact that not everyone would. Maybe the pitcher wouldn't. Maybe the defense wouldn't. Maybe, they're feeling it, and you can take advantage of it. That makes sense to me. But that's not what Aaron Rodgers has done in recent years.
Nope.
He has not even remained the same guy. He's still very good because he's Aaron Rodgers. He's incredible. But he has gotten a little worse in the playoffs than in the regular season. He has.
Now, I do understand what you just said, and you brought up Tom Brady as well. But I'm gonna bring up Tom Brady in a different light, because when I hear the GOAT talk or I hear Michael Jordan talk, I think about the 6 rings that Michael Jordan has won. But then when you move over to the greatest of all time who did it football-wise, you think about a guy named Tom Brady who's done it 7 times and has 7 rings and has 10 Super Bowl appearances and won 7 of those, lost 3. But I had a chance, man, on my little podcast that I have, the HD Connection. I interviewed Deion Branch, who played with Tom Brady, right? And he at one point was a Super Bowl MVP. And I asked him, man, how did Tom make you better as a player? He said it wasn't necessarily that Tom made me better as a player. He said Tom made me elevate at another level that I didn't know I had because of his standards and what he expects and the discipline that he has and what he expects from his wide receivers. He said he made him elevate his play to a whole nother level. And I thought that was big, man, because a guy like Tom Brady, who has the charisma, who can get along with his teammates, who could be on social. I love Tampa Bay Tom Brady because he's on social media. You see the funny posts, and he's a straight savage. We didn't get to see Tom Brady in New England like
right?
that.
Without Belichick. Yeah.
Yes, but then you see free agents want to follow Tom Brady and go where he is. He gets it. He understands it. He's going to elevate everyone's play. You just heard Cameron Brate in his post-practice interview. Listen, we miss Tom Brady being out here. We missing him cussing people out. You just know when he's on this football field, everyone else is going to elevate to another level. That's when you talk about Michael Jordan. I'm thinking about Tom Brady in that light.
Well, I think Magic Johnson, when you say something like that, I think of a guy, and I said this yesterday, Harry, a guy who, so MJ didn't always elevate everybody. MJ could be tough, man. You had to have a certain kind of personality to deal with
Your
MJ.
mindset had to be different.
But here's a guy who I always felt, here's a guy who I always felt elevated the whole team. And you know this when he walks in the room. Magic Johnson, he's not, Michael Jordan's better than Magic Johnson, I get it. But Magic Johnson can walk into a room and make everyone in the room feel like they need to be the best version of themselves because that's the way he sees you. He sees you as the best version of yourself, and you don't want to let him down because of that. He has this ability to lead and uplift, right?
That's right.
Any room he walks into. By the way, great quarterbacks are the same thing. You know who gives everyone a good feeling when they walk in the room? Drew Brees, right? Like, there are dudes who can enter a room and make everyone want to be the best version of themselves.
Correct.
Now, maybe Davante Adams feels that's Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he does. Rodgers has made a lot of good receivers, has helped make a lot of good receivers who were not first-round picks, obviously, right? I just notice that Aaron Rodgers teams underperform in the playoffs compared to the regular season, so I cannot invoke the name Michael Jordan when talking about him.
And I agree with you, because when you go to look at playoff wins, right, and I look at a guy like Tom Brady who has 35, but then I turn around and I look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers who has 11. But then you look at the last 3 seasons and A-Rod and the Packers going 13-3, but you don't have not one Super Bowl appearance to show for it.
You win
but
13
not only
games,
that,
you're good enough to advance in the playoffs. I don't want to hear about you're not good
But not
enough.
only that, though, Max, you let Tom Brady come up to the frozen tundra in January, where home field advantage is supposed to be to your advantage, and beat you in the NFC Championship game. But not only beat you, he goes on to win the Super Bowl in his first year in Tampa Bay. You can't ignore things like that.
Think about how devastating this is. Because of his play at the end of the first half, where he's throwing balls maybe the receivers could catch, but they weren't beautiful catchable balls, right? And they couldn't score in the red zone. Because of that, obviously, coach is looking at the end of the game like, we can't go for it on 4th down. He has not been able to get it done, right? Takes the ball the first year Brady's in the conference. Well, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, if he had Belichick, he'd have won all those Super Bowls. The first year he's in the conference. He takes the ball out of your hands and hands it to Tom Brady, who not only gets by you, but then goes on to win the Super Bowl. Oof. Oh. Guess who we're going to talk to in a minute, Harry?
Who?
Someone who's played, because I mentioned Peyton Manning. Jeff Saturday won't like this, because I talked about Peyton Manning being the best regular season player of all time. But you can't be a GOAT. You can't be the GOAT if you don't at least stay the same or elevate in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers, last 4 years, you could say, is like Peyton Manning, best regular season player of all time. Hasn't really advanced in the playoffs, hardly at all. And this is a man who played with both Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers. The The great Jeff Saturday. What's up, Jeff?
What's the word? How you feeling?
Look at this. Always a good
Stirred
day.
up the hornet's nest this morning.
You know it.
I feel you.
Well, listen, it's already August 25th. You know, we're getting close to September. I gotta start hot taking everything.
Yeah, we got to start cliffs. We got to get the whole thing going. I'm with you 100%.
Absolutely. Keyshawn J. Willimax is presented by Progressive Insurance, here to help you score big savings. To see how much you can save on auto insurance, visit progressive.com. Okay. Davante Adams, I took exception to this, said Aaron Rodgers has the Michael Jordan effect. 13 wins every regular season. You can't get by Garoppolo in the play. Like, you can't.
Right.
I can't say Michael Jordan effect, Jeff.
Right.
Come on, Jeff.
Yeah, listen.
Come on, Jeff.
I'm with you. Listen, in all honesty, I'm with you. If we're going to compare Michael Jordan to anybody, it's going to have to be a Tom Brady, right? When you're talking about, so I totally understand your point on the semantics of the actual phrase, right? I will say this. I think what the point he's trying to get across is there are players in our game, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, that are drivers and they change the culture.